You will not believe what I've been through. Seriously, lean in, because this is the kind of story you tell your grandkids, only you clean it up a lot. Like, a lot. You know how sometimes you look back and think, I probably should have seen this coming? Yeah, well, I'm still kind of processing it, but between us there were signs. Big flashing neon signs, and I just chose to ignore them. Or maybe I just didn't want to see them. Whatever. So, my name is Candace. I'm 32, and for a while there, I was married to this guy, Mark. Mark was nice. Like, too nice. Annoyingly nice, if we're being honest. He was one of those guys who always wanted to avoid conflict, a real people pleaser. He'd just nod and smile, even when I was obviously annoyed about something. It was cute at first, that whole, he's so sweet thing, but after a while, it just became boring. You know? Like, can you have an actual opinion for once? Our life was pretty normal, or so I thought. We lived in this decent apartment, split rent and bills, had our own cars. Nothing fancy, just typical stuff. Mark worked his job, I worked mine. My job was, you know, at the office. Doing office things. It was fine. Sometimes my boss was a pain, but whose isn't? Things started getting weird, I guess, about a year into our marriage. We'd been together for a few years before that, and everything was fine. But marriage is different, isn't it? Suddenly, he was always asking where I was going, or who I was with. It wasn't like I was doing anything crazy, just, you know, grabbing drinks with friends, or sometimes, yeah, with guys. What's the big deal? It's not like I was doing anything. But if I ever asked him who he was out with, or why he was late from work, he'd get all quiet. Like I was interrogating him. Seriously, the double standards were wild. He demanded transparency from me, but if I so much as breathed a question about his whereabouts, he'd clam up. It was maddening. I remember this one time, I was out with Jessica. You know Jessica, right? The one with the crazy laugh? Anyway, we were just chilling, and then these guys from her work showed up. One of them, Kevin, was super funny. We were all just laughing and talking, totally harmless. Mark called, and I picked up, and he asked where I was. I told him I was with Jessica. He asked if anyone else was there. I was like, why? What does it matter? He got all quiet, and I could just tell he was thinking things. It was so annoying. Like, can't a girl just have fun? It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. Meanwhile, he'd be out God knows where, and I'd just have to trust him. It's not fair, honestly. And then there was the money thing. He always expected me to split everything, which was fine. But then he'd complain about me spending money on clothes or getting my nails done. Like, hello? A girl has to look good. And it's not like I was asking him to pay for my stuff. My money was my money. His money, well, sometimes it was our money for bills, but mostly it was his. I just keep mine separate, because, you know, you never know what's going to happen. You gotta have your own stash. But if he bought something for himself, like a new game console or whatever, I'd make a little joke about it, like, oh, look at Mr. Big Spender. He'd just laugh, but I think he knew I was serious. It was a subtle dig, disguised as a joke. He never really got mad, which was part of the problem. He was such a pushover. I remember this one time, he got really into running. Like, obsessed. He'd be out at dawn, running miles, and then he'd come home all sweaty and happy, talking about his new personal best or whatever. And I was just like, ugh, another hobby that doesn't include me. It was so annoying. Like, don't you want to spend time with your wife? Why do you need to go run by yourself? It made me feel like he was trying to grow away from me, or something. So, I'd make little comments like, wow, you're really dedicated to that running thing. Hope it doesn't, you know, get in the way of us doing things. Or I'd just sigh really loud when he put on his running shoes. He eventually started running less. He probably just got tired, which is totally normal. The arguments, when we had them, were never really arguments. He'd try to bring something up, and I'd just shut down. Or I'd cry. Not like fake cry, but just, get teary. It's hard to yell at someone who's crying, right? It just makes him look like the bad guy. And then he'd apologize, even if he was the one who was upset. It was so easy to just make him back off. Like I'd be upset about something, and he'd try to explain his side, and I'd just say, "You're being dramatic. It's not that serious." And then he'd just give up. It's like he just wanted to avoid the conversation altogether. Sometimes I'd use my childhood stuff, like, "You don't understand, I had a tough childhood." And he'd just drop it. It worked every time. Things at work, my job, were getting a little interesting. There was this new guy, Kyle. Super charming, always laughing at my jokes. And he actually got me, Unlike Mark, who just smiled politely. Kyle and I started getting coffee, then lunch, then after-work drinks. Nothing crazy, just harmless fun. But then he started saying things like, "You deserve someone who appreciates you." And, "Your husband sounds like a real bore." And honestly, a part of me was like, yeah, he does. He really does sound like a bore. One night, after a few too many drinks with Kyle, things just happened. It wasn't planned, it wasn't some big romantic movie scene. It was just fun. And exciting. It was like a little secret, just for me. The next morning, I woke up, and yeah, there was a tiny flutter of panic. But then I just brushed it off. It was just a little fun. It didn't mean anything. Mark was so predictable, so safe. Kyle was an adventure. And honestly, I deserved a little adventure. My life was so boring sometimes. When I got home, Mark was making breakfast. He looked so happy, flipping pancakes, and I just felt nothing. Not guilt, not remorse. Just a little tired. He asked me about my night, and I just said, "Oh, it was fine. Just drinks with some colleagues." I didn't mention Kyle by name. What he doesn't know won't hurt him, right? And it wasn't like I was doing it to him. I was doing it for me. For fun. But then it kept happening. Not with Kyle every time. Sometimes it was just other random guys I met when I was out with friends. Just, harmless flirting that sometimes went a little further. It was just for fun. A little thrill. Mark was always so trusting, bless his heart. He'd ask where I was, and I'd say I was at Jessica's, or with my sister. And he'd just say, "Okay, honey, have fun. Love you." And I'd just say, "Love you too," and hang up. Easy peasy. I did start posting more on Facebook, though. Like, "Feeling so blessed," with a picture of me and Mark looking all happy. Or, "Date night with my amazing hubby," when we went out. Just to show everyone how great things were. You gotta keep up appearances, right? And honestly, it made me feel better. Like, see? Everything's fine. We're perfect. It was just a way to get some validation, because, let's be real, Mark wasn't always giving me what I needed. One time, Mark's friend, Sarah, came to visit. She was always a little too friendly with Mark, if you asked me. Anyway, she was always asking him questions about his hobbies, and what he was doing, and I just felt like she was trying to get in my space. So, I'd make little comments like, "Oh, Mark's so into that running thing, it's cute, but he's not very good." Or, "He's always trying new things, but he never sticks to them." Just little digs to make her know that he was my Mark, and that I knew him better than she did. She's such a bitch. I saw her looking at me sometimes, like she knew something, but I just ignored her. Things started to get a little tense. Mark was still too nice, but I could tell he was getting tired. He looked more tired, actually. His eyes just looked empty sometimes. He'd come home, and he'd just sit on the couch, not really doing anything. He used to be so excited about everything, but now he was just there. I kept telling myself it was his job, or something. But honestly, it was starting to get on my nerves. Like, cheer up, buddy. You're bringing down the whole vibe. Then came the night everything blew up. I was out with a different group of friends, and again, things just escalated. It was a one-night thing. What can I say? I was having fun. I got home super late, probably around 3 a.m. I tried to be quiet, but Mark was awake. He was just sitting there in the living room, in the dark. My heart did a little flutter kick of panic, but I quickly squashed it. What's he gonna do? He's Mark. He just looked at me. No yelling, no shouting. Just that tired, empty look. And he said, "Candace, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. I knew. Not about that specifically, but I knew he was finally going to try and bring something up. I immediately got defensive. Talk about what? It's 3 in the morning, Mark. Can't this wait? He stood up, and for the first time, he actually looked angry. Not shouting angry, but that quiet, simmering anger that's way scarier. I found out, Candace, he said. And my mind went blank. Found out what? What did he know? I immediately went to my usual move. Found out what? What are you talking about? You're being dramatic. I even started to get a little teary. Why are you always so dramatic, Mark? It's not that serious. But he didn't back down this time. He just kept looking at me, his eyes burning. I found out about everything, Candace. The guys. The lies. The cheating. He said the word cheating, and it hit me like a cold bucket of water. How? How did he know? My mind raced. Did someone tell him? Did he check my phone? My heart started pounding. He kept talking, but I barely heard him. He was saying something about how he deserved honesty, how he was hurt, how he couldn't trust me anymore. Blah blah blah. All I could think was, how? And then he said it. I want a divorce. Divorce. The word hung in the air. I actually laughed. Divorce? Mark, don't be ridiculous. It was just for fun. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. It's not like I love them. It was just a little excitement. I tried to touch his arm, but he pulled away. For fun? He repeated, his voice dangerously low. You cheated on me, your husband, for fun? And you think that's okay? It wasn't a big deal. I insisted, my voice rising. It was just a few times. It's not like I ran off with someone. It's not like I was trying to hurt you. You're overreacting, Mark. Seriously, you're being so dramatic. He just shook his head. No, Candace. I'm not. I'm done. And that was it. He was firm. He didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't even cry. He just stated it. He wanted a divorce. I tried everything. I cried real tears, I begged, I pleaded. I told him I loved him, that it was a mistake, that I was confused, that I was just going through a phase. I even tried to use the "my trauma makes me act out sometimes" card, but he just looked right through it. He just kept saying, I can't trust you, Candace. I deserve someone who respects me. Honestly, I was shocked. Mark? The too nice guy? Standing his ground? It was like he was a completely different person. He had finally checked out, completely. He wasn't emotionally distant anymore. He was just gone. And there was nothing I could do. The divorce was messy. He was so stubborn. He wouldn't budge on anything. I tried to fight for more, to make him pay for more, but he just said, I'm only paying for what's fair. He had his own lawyer, and suddenly, he wasn't the people-pleaser anymore. He was Mr. Growth Mindset, setting boundaries and being all self-aware. It was sickening. He even brought up all the little jabs I'd made, the financial stuff, the way I'd shut him down. He had been keeping a mental tally, the scorekeeping I'd always done to him, but he'd kept it to himself. Now he was using it against me. It was like he'd been planning this for months. I told him he was rewriting history, that he was making things up, but he just wouldn't listen. And then he started dating. Almost immediately. I saw pictures on Facebook, not that I was looking, of course, but they just popped up. He was with this woman, Emily. She was nice. Too nice. Just like him. And she seemed genuinely happy. Like, annoyingly happy. They were always doing things together, going on hikes, volunteering at shelters. It made me sick. Meanwhile, I was still trying to figure out what happened. I'd tried to call him, to text him, just to see what he was up to. He never answered. He never returned my calls. It was like I didn't exist anymore. My life, after the divorce, just went sideways. I tried to keep things going with some of the guys I'd been seeing, but it was just for fun, and they knew it. They weren't looking for anything serious. And honestly, they were starting to get boring too. The thrill was gone. I tried to tell my friends what happened, how Mark was being such a jerk, how he was overreacting. But even they started looking at me weird. Like I was the one who was wrong. Some of them even stopped calling me back. It was like my reputation was slowly getting destroyed. At work, things got bad too. I was so distracted, so upset, that I started making mistakes. My boss, who was already a pain, started getting on my case. I tried to use my charm, to flirt a little, but it didn't work. My projects were falling behind, and I was getting less and less responsibility. I could feel it. My career was starting to implode. I was just stuck in this toxic loop, and I couldn't get out. And then the biggest kick in the teeth happened. I found out Mark and Emily were getting married. Seriously, can you believe it? He moves on that fast? And to someone so boring? I saw a picture of them together, and he looked so happy, so genuinely in love. It was sickening. He looked like he was finally living his best life, and I was just stuck. I started desperately begging him to come back. I called him, texted him, left voicemails. I told him I'd changed, that I realized how much I loved him, that I couldn't live without him. I used every emotional manipulation trick in the book. I even threatened to show up at his work. I was like a relationship hostage-taker, threatening to blow everything up if he didn't give in. But he just kept saying, "Candace, you had your chance. I'm happy now. Please stop contacting me." It was a complete reversal of fortune. He had everything I used to have, and he was happy. I was alone. Completely alone. All the goals I had for myself, all the fun I was having, it all just crumbled. I achieved my selfish goals, and now I was just lonely. My identity, everything I built around being the fun, carefree girl, was stripped away. I was just Candace, the one who cheated for fun and justified it. And everyone knew it. Now I just float through my days. I don't care anymore about Mark or what he's doing. Honestly, good for him. But it's not my fault things went bad. He was too sensitive, too dramatic. He couldn't handle a little bit of fun. He was too controlling, always asking where I was. And frankly, he wasn't giving me what I needed. It's his fault for not being enough. I don't regret my decisions. I regret how things turned out. I just wanted a little excitement, and he couldn't handle it. He deserved someone who was as boring as he was. And now he has her. So, whatever. I'm fine. I'm totally fine.